Hey guys, so as usual I wanted to bring a tier list of hand traps and staples based on Dueling Book data from YCS Scope, and before I continue, big thanks to my sponsors as usual, links and discount codes below. The tier score calculation is the same as always, and I'll link my first tier list video if you want to learn more about it. Keep in mind that while I'm looking at staples, I'm more so talking about hand traps and staples that are side-worthy, like Lightning Storm or Talents, and not generic staples like the Pod cards or Foolish Burial, which will only be a main deck card. And we'll be looking at how often certain staples were played among the topping list from YCS Minneapolis to calculate component C of the tier score formula. To start us off on this month's tier list, we actually start with Cosmic Cyclone. Was played a lot among the topping lists at YCS Minneapolis, and it's a good card essentially since the new support for tiers and destroying their back row will just trigger the effects, so banishing them is nice. Obviously good against something like Mystic Mine as well, and just in a lot of people's lists, even in the main deck at the moment. Next we have Bestial Magma Nut, but I am really just using this image to represent the Bestial package that serves as hand traps in the deck, such as Druid's Worm and Serenir. This is a new package from Darkwing Blast that have become the better DD Crows, and was the most played hand trap among the topping lists at YCS Minneapolis as well. Aside from the banishing, can serve as a big body for added damage, and really seeing a lot of play right off the gate. Then we have Talents making it all the way on this tier A, which has been seeing more play lately in the top cut of the YCS. Lots of effects being activated in the main phase right now, especially with tier limits everywhere. Next we have Evenly Matched, which again has recently become one of the most played staples in a lot of lists and is a big way to clear the tier board. Sadly, tier lists are all playing the counter trap in Crime right now, so it's become much harder to resolve this against them. Definitely a card to still consider running in your side though, and a couple Flunder lists have topped the YCS Minneapolis even main deck this card. At the last of tier A is Super Polymerization, which, while strong, admittedly I think it made it this high because of such high representation from tier elements in online and IRL play, as they will always main it. Breaks a lot of boards and is literally unstoppable. Konami really should have addressed this card on the last ban list. Starting us off in tier B is Infinite Impermanence, where even though this was the most played staple on Dueling Book in the last 7 days, it still ended up getting categorized into tier B due to the lower frequency of hand traps being played lately among the topping list of YCS. Among the hand traps, definitely one of the strongest out there, especially since it plays around Talents, which we have seen increasing in play lately. Next we have Call by the Grave, which has sort of declined in play the last couple of months. Versatile card though, where you can use it to stop hand traps or just banish an opponent's monster in the grave that could serve as an extender, but definitely not a given card in people's lists anymore. Then we have another new addition from Darkwing Blast and Couchchair Fenrir, which has quickly become a common staple, has a strong body and can search for itself while potentially banishing a card every turn. It's certainly a card worth having in your list, whether in the main or in the side. Will be interesting to see where the price of this card settles though. Next we have Dark Ruler No More, where as amazing as this card is, sadly it seems like it's not enough nowadays because the top decks and tiers and sprites will have a strong comeback the turn after. Still worth having in your list though, but definitely don't expect an easy win just because you do this. Then we have another hand trap in Cyframe Gear Gamma, which typically is sided, but when you get to resolve it, it's pretty high impact and can end the turn right there. Although with Talents being popular again, if your opponent has Talents to take your Gamma, they can continue their sprite combo since Gamma just had to be a level 2. Then we have Eradicator Epidemic Virus, which used to be more of a tier limit special with Griffin and Curious, although that type of strategy has died down. Nowadays, you see it a lot among sprite lists where Gigantic can easily become 3200 attack by using either Hugin or Sprite Sprint as material. The match win percentage when this card was played was not that high at 48%, but definitely don't weigh these win percentages too heavily as there are many limitations to this. Next we have another favorite hand trap, Dimension Shifter. Used to be a Flunder special, but now many sprite lists run it too, as they can sort of play around it while it can destroy tier elements. With the Ishizu support coming out very soon, probably expect to see more of Shifter. Then we have Ash Blossom, which has really fallen hard since its glory days of being the most played hand trap. Pretty low impact right now, especially against tier elements, and Sprite can also play through one Ash no problem, but just wait, at some point in the format, Ash will likely come back to the most played staple. Then starting us off at tier C is the good old Mystic Mine, which actually didn't see that much play at YCS Minneapolis. Luckily, we don't have to deal with Mystic Mine Burn winning the YCS again, and while this card does not have as much attention right now, hopefully Konami still does something about this card. Next we have Heartbeast Feather Duster, which is worth playing, but not as great in the format since the tier back row would just trigger if they're destroyed, although it may be worth it when trying to go for the game. Surprising that a card this strong isn't a given choice in lists nowadays, especially given the current format. Then we have more Monster Effect Negation in Forbidden Droplet. Not played as much as Dark Ruler since the sudden decline of the Scythe locks, but it may be worth playing both Dark Ruler and Droplets, which some topping lists were doing. Next we have Lightning Storm, which has fallen in favor of Evenly Matched the last few months. Can clear boards, which is nice and can be pretty flexible, but destroying opponents' cards may end up benefiting them with decks like Tearlaments running rampant at this point. Then we have DD Crow, which has fallen from the tier A category in last month, mainly because of the release of bestial cards and people have transitioned over to using that card instead of the crows. The crows are still valuable since it can banish spells or traps as well, and may be worth the deck spot even now. We then have another hand trap in Veiler, which wasn't played as much as Imperm but can just provide that added monster effect negation. As a bonus, it is a monster and it's also a tuner, so it can serve as an extender as well, although Halk being banned was a big hit. Next, another hand trap in Drool, which is very format dependent. Flounder has been coming back in play lately, and this card can be great against them, except for when they use Shifter. Originally, when Drytrons got banned 10 back to 3, some thought maybe Droll should come back again and play, but looks like Drytrons has not been doing much lately, and also the bestial cards probably hamper their ability as well. Then we have Solemn Judgment, which just about stops anything and is a powerful card to side when you know you're going first, and is very useful in this format where so many players are playing evenly matched. Lastly, in Tier C is Lava Golem, which I thought would end up being ranked higher. It's become a staple for Runic Sprite lists, but looks like some tier limit lists are running this as well. An old card, but really strong as it can out many oppressive boards and can burn your opponent to boot. Then lastly for Tier D, we have Nibiru falling all the way from the top spot last month to down here. Tiers aren't really susceptible to Nibiru anymore, and it's not a hand trap that was played among the topping list at YCS Minneapolis. I'm sure Nibiru will come back again at some point, but looks like this is one of those rare formats where people just aren't running Nibiru as much. Next is Ghost Spell, which might start seeing more play soon considering the popularity of the bestial cards, as this can prevent the banishing from happening, just like when you use it to protect your hand trap from Call by the Grave. Not many players are running it so far, but something to keep an eye on. Lastly, we have Dimensional Barrier, which definitely saw a decline in play in the last month. Still a really strong card against the top strategies, although I guess it's not as deadly as when you would use it against Branded Despia back when they were tier 1. Alright guys, so that was it for this month's staple tier list. Hope you enjoyed that. I know YCS Pasadena is coming soon, so I'll try to do another hand trap and staple breakdown of that top cut as well. As always, a big thanks to my Patreons, Eileen Dice Queen, Bolt Spider, Cybernetic, Brandon Jaren, Barrel Lord, Spooky Boogie, Stephen Phillips, and Chaz Blanks, as always, for supporting the channel. You guys are great. If you're interested in joining my Patreon, link down below. Take care guys.